In over a year of doing this channel, I've only done one what recently sold video. A lot of people, that's just about all they do. I want to make this channel a unique one in that it's always telling you the most powerful techniques that are around, how to list, how to run sales, exactly how to do promoted listings percentages, all of the technical aspects that most people ignore. That's how you can move into the top 5% of sellers. It's all about mastering the eBay search engine. It's not about mastering sellers. And on the other side of that coin, I also like to show you incredible sourcing tips, how to find things that other people can't find, and also what to find that most people aren't looking for. But when I was looking through some of our recently sold items, I can teach you a lot just by showing you things that have sold and why I decided to list them in the first place, why I even decided to source them in the first place. Knowledge is king and queen in eBay. When you're out at a garage sale, the B is silent. It's not a garbage sale. It's a garbage sale to the sellers, but to us buyers, it's a garage sale because we're going to take those items and turn them in to a lot of cash. Whenever we go garage selling, my wife and I will tell each other, oh, let's go buy some money today. That's literally what we're doing. Anytime I go to any sale, I'm going to buy some money. There are a lot of people out there on earth who have my money, and I want my money, and I'm going to get it by enticing them with items they want. I have found that I know people are out there who want, and they've got my money, and they want my stuff, and I'm going to trade them my stuff for money. Now, since knowledge is everything, that's the difference between going to a sale and walking away frustrated. And you got to admit, it's very frustrating to go across town to a sale you're really looking forward to, and you walk away without anything. Nothing there was worth sourcing. It's frustrating. It's depressing. It makes you not want to do it anymore. And you forget all about it the next day. Whenever you come back with 300 items, it's going to bang down $10,000 of income. You forget all about the bad days, but then a bad day comes up and you forget all about the good days. That's the way it works. Shouldn't work this way. Here's the thing. You're in this for the long haul, right? Now, long haul may not be 50 years. I've been in this 26 years, more than a quarter of a century. I've been selling heavily on eBay all this time across multiple selling accounts that I use for various reasons. And no, I don't suggest you have multiple selling accounts. There are a lot of problems with that. I have to do it for very special reasons. Someday I might do a video on it and explain why. So it's obvious. It should have been obvious to me. I should have been doing more of these because if you see the things that I sell, you might go, why in the world would he sell that? And a better question is, why in the world would anyone buy that and pay that much money for it? And my answer is always, I don't know, and I don't care. I just know that they do. I might do a few of these every once in a while. So let's look through a few things that have recently sold for me. Some are going to be okay sales, some are going to be great dollar amounts, some aren't going to be much, but they are all over the board. Guess what? Every single buyer that goes to eBay, whether they're poor or rich, I want to sell to those people. I want to sell to every person that goes to eBay. So I cover the spectrum, and I try to get my average dollar per sell up every single day. I try to make that go up a little bit higher every day, every week, every month. But along the way, you're going to sell a few lower priced items. Along the way, you need to sell a few higher priced items. The ones I'm going to show you today really aren't outstanding. They're just YouTube eBay people call bread and butter items, just standard items that keep the lights on, keep the bills paid, keep the money coming in, keep the profit coming in, keep building my business bank account and all of that. They're going to work for you too. If you just know about categories to look for, you're going to do well. You won't have to sit there and look up sold comps and what does this sell on every single item at the sale. As long as you have a general categorical knowledge of things that sell. And that's what I'm going to stress today when I'm showing you things that have recently sold. So here we go. These are sold items. I'm going to show you the sold price. There will be two prices. Here's an example. This stapler. Now over to the right, it sold for $23.99 and the total $34.52. That includes sales tax and shipping. So it's a misleading number. It looks really high. It certainly looks high to our buyers. Too bad about sales tax. All of a sudden, a few years ago, the government said, hey, all that stuff about items that cross state lines don't have to be taxed. Well, that was all a joke for 200 years. We're going to start taxing everything, including items that have to be shipped across state lines. And that's why everything online now is taxed. The government cannot spend less. They have to only take more money. So over to the right of this stapler, for example, is $34.52, but that does include the $23.99 my buyer paid, as well as shipping, as well as sales tax. But the subtotal is what's important. This is what it sells for. This was a slimline green stapler, a small stapler, probably measured 4 inches long. And we happened to have a staple puller that was green. The stapler was green. It's a vintage stapler, all steel stapler, not very large. Now, why did we pick that up at an estate sale or a garage sale? Why in the world would we go to a desk and start going through desk drawers looking for staplers? Well, it's because they sell. You need to start doing the same thing. But a trick is staplers that are a little bit unique or different. Any stapler that's a color, like this teal green stapler, that made it worth more money. If it were just a normal black stapler, I probably could have sold it for $15.99, but the fact that it was teal green really made it special. The fact I threw in a green staple puller didn't do much, but we had an extra green stapler puller. We don't use those much anymore. Who uses staples anymore? Who uses paper much anymore? We don't use staples much anymore. So I had a couple of staple pullers. I have a red one over there, and I had that green one. I thought, throw that in as a bonus. It makes it look like more stuff. And this Swingline 99 teal stapler went for $23.99. All of these things cost us like, unless I tell you differently, they all cost under $1. At garage sales, estate sales, whatever, we're always buying stuff next to nothing. And so should you. So unless there's an exception in this mix of stuff, I'm not only going to tell you the category to look for, office supplies that are kind of special, especially older ones, especially ones that have unique characteristics like colors that you really just don't think about anymore. You don't think about seeing a green stapler anymore, all metal. You need to be grabbing stuff like that if they're cheap. You know, if the stapler is 50 cents, all the stuff even an expensive estate sale, all that stuff in the desk drawer, they don't even know what they want to charge. You take up a stapler and some mechanical pencils, which can be worth money, a lot of money, and 2 or 3 things of Scotch tape, because you can use that whenever you're wrapping and shipping, and maybe packing tape for the outside of boxes. You just come up with all this desk drawer stuff, and they're trying to sell the desk for $300. They didn't even consider selling stuff out of the drawer of the desk. And you go, how much for all this stuff? I'm about to drop it. How much for all this stuff? Can you help me out? They're going to go, $2. Just get it out of our way. Here's a sack, kid. Get out of the way. So this type of stuff doesn't cost you very much, and it'll always sell online. If you buy something cheap enough, if you get a blue stapler from the 1970s, all metal, they're asking 75 cents for it. Don't do comps. Just buy it. It's free. Just buy it. You're going to make your money back and a lot more. Next, we come down to an Opryland Gospel Quartet songbook. You're going to start seeing a pattern with me because I sell a lot of the same things, because I like categories. When I see a category of songbooks or music or hymnals or anything with song collections, I grab it. 1, they're never overpriced. 2, hardly any of them ever sell at garage sales. 3, I just collect them all up and say, how many for all 50 of these? And they'll go, we're tired of looking at them, $5, whatever. So this Opry, and this only had about 12 songs. It didn't have very many songs. It wasn't very thick, very lightweight. Songbooks will ship medium mail, cheapest mail there is, so your buyer's not paying a lot extra in shipping. You just slide them into a stiff bubble mailer, maybe put a piece of cardboard in there to keep them from getting bent up, and there go. You peel and stick the end flap down, and it's ready for a label. So they're nothing to mail. I actually thought this might go for a little more, but I'm happy with $10.95, $11 for this thing. This was in a big stack of songbooks my wife got, and then we went back the next week. She actually wrote the people. It was a family estate sale, and on the receipt, it had their information, just a family trying to sell their parents' stuff, a lot of music and everything. And Janie bought all these songbooks and hymnals and things, but she thought, surely they didn't sell because they never sell at garage sales. They only sell when we buy them, and then we sell them all on eBay for a lot of profit. She wrote them and said, do you have any music books left? Are you willing to make a deal if we just come and get all of them? And she wrote back and she said, I posted this in our Facebook group. She went back, the lady wrote back and said, look, we're done with it. We don't want to have another sale. We don't want to have people come in and look. If you want to come next Saturday, we're going to be cleaning up the house. You can have every single thing in the house that's left. Anything you want, you just come and get. Well, we loaded up the boxes and the sacks and the IKEA bags, and we went to town in Sapapa, Oklahoma. We took every songbook, every hymnal, every book, they had all these incredible Western horseman books about horses and rodeos, and I didn't look up one of them. I just thought, well, first of all, they were free, but second of all, there's a cost with free. What am I going to do with 500 Western horse books about horses if no one wants them? Well, give them to Salvation Army is what I was going to do to them. Or even better, there's a local bookstore in town that we trade books in, and they give us store credit, and then we go back and we buy Bibles for $1 each that sell for a lot of money. So we can always find something to do with books. So I didn't comp in. I thought that's a niche category. There were not 5 million copies of any book on any rodeo ever made. So they're all very low run print books. All of these songbooks sell like crazy. Old hymnals sell like crazy. I can't believe it. I've been selling songbooks and hymnals for years. And every time one sells, I think, I can't believe it. I can't believe it. So this one sold for $11, gospel quartet. All of the famous gospel quartets, I don't know if you know anything about them. They're all dead. There aren't any left. All the Statesman Stamps, Blackwood Brothers, all those guys, Inspirations, all the original guys, they're all gone. They're all dead. But there is a remnant of people that still like that music. And 4-part harmony, shaped notes, any type, and old hymnals, everyone's just looking for old music books. So we listed this, turned it into $11. This was either one Janie bought for a quarter, or we got in that free carload of songbooks that we haven't even really gone through yet. We've listed 5% of the stuff that we got for free. Here is a New American Standard red letter edition. I've told you before how to buy Bibles. I've done at least 2 videos on Bibles. Bibles are a lot of money. You need to take them seriously. If you don't like the Bible, your buyers do, and that's why it counts when it comes to you. You need to learn to like Bibles, if for nothing else, to source them and get them into hands of people that want them, who will pay you money. This is a $21 Bible, New American Standard, leather and red letter. I should have asked for more. This sold almost instantly. I listed it maybe a day or 2 later. It sold. Checked all the boxes that I've told you, plus more, red letter, leather. It was just a guarantee sale. Next item, Oxford Holy Bible King James. This one went for $43.99, $44 basically. Leather Bible. This was an old one. Kind of hard to tell that it was old here, but this was probably from the 50s. Pretty good condition, printed at Oxford University over in England. I've been there. That's where J.R.R. Tolkien lived and taught and studied, and all of those guys. Nothing special about it being printed at Oxford. It's just a lot of 1950s Bibles you find were printed in Oxford, in England. And I don't know how much more that adds, but I know the fact that it's vintage, it's a Bible, it's leather. I know that that means money. They will sell. $44 for that Bible. Here's a purse my wife found, cheap, Fossil purse. I didn't think this would sell, but I don't know anything about purses. I'm a man. So a Fossil is a very good brand for watches, for purses, things like that. This is a plastic purse. It's like, if I remember, it's only been like 4 days, but she wrapped it. I didn't wrap this one. And I don't remember things like purses. I remember things like books and things like that. But I think this was almost a vinyl purse, like a plastic outer purse. And I thought, no lady's going to want a vinyl purse. What, you can take it out in the rain? And then I later thought, well, maybe so. That may be why you might want a vinyl purse, is for rainy days. Maybe you live in Seattle. But anyway, Fossil, anytime you get a name brand purse like Fossil, Coach, any of those, you've got to really double check that it's authentic. You've got to look at all the stitching to make sure it's even. Look at the inside tags, make sure all is beautiful. But as long as you're convinced it's an authentic purse, it'll sell a lot of money if it's a name brand purse. Next item, God dog. I don't know what that says, except I kind of do. I looked it up. It means Sunday in Cherokee. I don't know why they can't just use one simple word when four is more confusing, but that's what they did. No, I live in Oklahoma. I'm part Cherokee. I'm not proud of that. I'm not proud of that. It's just it's in my blood. Someone asked me one time, how much Indian blood do you have in you? And I said, I don't know, about a pint. But we find books on Indians all the time here in Tulsa, Oklahoma, because Oklahoma was called Indian Territory before it was named the state of Oklahoma. The 5 civilized tribes settled here and all of that. Any older book from 1969, 1970, and let's say 1980 and earlier. Any book on Native Americans, that will sell, some for a lot of money. This wasn't in the best condition, had a lot of writing in it, thin book, but it had pictures. Of course, my listing showed a lot of pictures, and it sold for $37.44 in just a few days' time. All of these Native American volumes, a lot of them were published by the University of Oklahoma Press. You want to look for that, although that's not a requirement. But all of these books about Native Americans and their history, especially vintage from mid-century and earlier, 1970s, 60s, 50s, 40s, all of those sell for good money because the print run was very low. Not many were printed, relatively speaking, and very few still exist today, so they're worth more money. Look for books on Native American Indians. You might think, well, I live in Florida. I live in New York. There aren't going to be a bunch of Indians here. There literally were a bunch of Native Americans in Florida and in New York, so you'll find them everywhere. But in some places, certainly, and here in Oklahoma, we have a lot more because this is where a huge population of Native Americans, their descendants still live. But wherever you live, you're going to find things that are like this to your region. Find what your region's popular for back in the day. That's the thing you want to look for. But wherever you are, look for things popular in your region, and that's what you want to source. I happen to have an abundance of old Native American books all around me every time I go to any sale. Not every sale, but a lot of times. And I focus on that category when I see that's available. You should too. $37.44, easy ship, book, not fragile, something that I'll always source, and so should you. Here's a Mary Englebright tea box. It's really just a trinket box with a lid, ceramic. Mary Englebright's a famous brand, always colorful and cutesy, and always has little pies and cherries and just really fun flower types of colors. And anything Mary Englebright is worth looking at. Once you've seen 3 or 4 Mary Englebright items, you'll always be able to spot them. From 5 tables away, you'll go there. There's some Mary Englebrights over there. Run and get those real fast. They're not always super high priced, but they're always super fast sales. And people love Mary Englebright. Look for those. I've told you before, I did an entire video on trinket boxes and why especially if you're men and you walked right past every single trinket box in your life thinking, I don't even know why anyone would own something like that. They're big sellers. Trinket boxes, little dishes to hold things are big sellers on eBay. When you add a name brand like Mary Englebright, even bigger. These are the types of things I want you to keep your eyes open for. Here's a great courses trio, 2 DVDs and the book that goes with it. I kind of want to warn you against great courses. We got a lot of these at that free location where she said, just come back and take everything in our house. And she had room after room of old books. Like I say, the horse books, they were missionaries and he loved horses. So he had all sorts of Bibles and song books because missionaries love to sing and all sorts of things, but book after book after book. And they had a bunch of these great courses and we just took all that were there. They're DVDs and sometimes audio CDs plus a book, and they teach things. They're very good. They teach you about operas. If you don't know anything about opera, get a couple of great courses on opera and you'll be an opera fan before you know it. Really, they can take a total novice on any subject that's kind of foo-foo, and you'll really like the subject by the time you're done. You'll know a lot about it. These don't sell for much. I've never had great success buying great courses and making a lot of money off of them. So on these, be careful. If you're like me and they were free, get them. Now, the week before, they were $2 a piece, and they only sell from about $9 to about $15 at the most. All these great courses. So even paying $2, I really don't like spending any significant money whatsoever on an item, even if it'll profit. There are exceptions. Still, if I were you, I would really hesitate at taking great courses. They just don't sell for the price that you would think they should, especially as quality as they are. Playing cards, decks of playing cards, vintage, they do pretty well. Anytime that there are airlines, you'll money. Anytime there's anything special, like a casino in Vegas that's no longer around, the old Stardust Casino, if you find a bunch of old 1960s playing cards from Stardust, they'll sell. They'll be worth your money. These were 5 decks of playing cards from American Airlines, which does still exist, of course. Braniff, which doesn't exist. The Concorde, which doesn't exist. And they sold for $14.93, $15 for 5 decks. Nothing to write home about. You're not going to be able to pay your next payment on that 125-foot yacht that you're buying, but it's a bread and butter item. It'll always bring $10 to $20 for a lot of 3, 4, 5, 6 old playing cards. Try to get them branded for an airline, casino. You'll do even better. Here's a special type of Bible, the Chain Reference Bible, and you'll often see it called Thompson Chain Bible. It's a way that a guy named Thompson created this system to cross-reference a lot of verses, and $18. It was an old one, not great condition. These Thompson edition Bible, chain reference Bibles can go $50, $60, $70 when they're in real good condition and when they're larger. This one was kind of a smaller one, not leather or anything like that. $18, great. Here's the Supernatural Bible. I think supernatural not like witchcraft, but I think supernatural like God is a supernatural being. The Supernatural Bible, red letter, 2017, not very old, but in great condition, $19. Easy decision. I probably should have asked for more, but it sold almost instantly, so I probably should have asked for more. A Singer button holder. This is a niche item. Niche. A Singer button holder. I was in Italy one time, and we were at a friend's kitchen table. They don't speak a lick of English. And Janie and I were there. These people owned a restaurant, and we went there so much, they got to liking us, believe it or not. And they invited us to their home the next time we were in Italy, and we stayed there with them for several nights. And Janie looked over, and there's a Singer sewing machine. And Janie likes to sew, and she said, oh, in Italian, oh, there's, sewing. I love your sewing machine. And the lady said, Singer. That's in Italian, G's are always pronounced soft like a J anytime there's an E or an I following them. So they call them Singer. Anyway, this is a Singer sewing machine button holder. This is a device that you use to make buttonholes, but it's just the manual. This thing's a tiny little manual that's like 6 inches long, and I think this was in all those free items, and it mails in a 5x8 bubble mailer that costs 15 cents or less, and you slap on the label and you ship it out. Old manuals sell for a lot. This one probably I should have asked for more than 5, although it probably wouldn't bring more than 9 even if I held out. I probably should have asked $12.99 and took an offer for 9-ish. As a matter of fact, I probably took this $5. It was $12 and I took the $5 offer. But it's so easy to just throw it in a bubble mailer and ship it, not fragile or anything. Here's the weird thing. I want to show you another Singer manual here in a second that's worth more money. And I want to show you why you should always pick these up. And I'm going to show you something odd about them. Hang on. This is a Word Biblical Commentary. That's a very famous commentary about the Bible, explaining books of the Bible, explaining texts in the Bible. This went for $25. Of course, any book about the Bible that's not just a huge print run, they're going to go for a lot of money. They're just always worth picking up. You see this Chrysler Trophy Cup pewter car auto thing. This is a pewter cup that was not branded. Couldn't find any brand on it. But if you look closely, and I could blow this up, but I won't. There was a Chrysler logo on this thing. I don't think it was a Chrysler item. I really don't. But it was identical to Chrysler Motors. And it was a pewter item, like a cup that you would win on a car race. I mean, it might have been a Chrysler giveaway or something at some point, but I couldn't find it anywhere. This thing's not even 5 inches tall. This pewter metal cup that sure looked to me like there was a Chrysler logo there, and so I just said Chrysler logo. Trophy cup, and I put in the listing. All that I knew about it was, I don't know anything about these. I don't know why it's got a Chrysler logo. I don't see any words. I've looked with a magnifying glass, can't find a brand. I don't know anything about this. I've researched, and I did Google Lens, eBay, WorthPoint. I looked everywhere for these things. Never could ever find another one on all of the internet. So I priced it high. I priced it probably at $124.99, and within hours got a bid for $103, and I took it. Solid, nothing to break in shipping, no big deal. 1 layer of bubble wrap, throw it in a clean old box, tape it up. Here's a songbook from our free wealth of songbooks. Floyd Kramer, Piano Hits. This one isn't very thick. This probably had 10 songs in it. Just a real quick $12.30. Throw it in a bubble mailer, put 1 piece of cardboard in there to firm it up, and it's off. Polaroid, these are quite rare. This is an unopened pack of diskettes. Now, these aren't the diskettes your father used, the little 3.5-inch diskettes. These are the diskettes your grandfather used. These are the 5.25-inch diskettes from way back when computers first came on the scene in home. The little TRS-80 Radio Shack and the Apple II computer, and all those computers in 1976 and 77, they used these diskettes in their disk drive to store data on. And this was still sealed, unopened, factory sealed. Did I look up comps? No way. why would I have wasted my time? It's going to sell. If outdated, expired printer ink cartridges that haven't been opened yet sell, then these 1970 forms of storage, they sure will sell if they haven't been opened. People still collect old computers that use these, and they want diskettes. They still want blank media for their computers that haven't been made in decades. $14.95, I probably should have asked for more. But that's almost my whole story. I'm always taking what some people would consider too low of offers, but I'm always taking offers. I'm always getting offers. I'm always taking offers. No, I don't give things away, but I always take a little bit less than most people will because I want to have that money churning. When I buy something for $1, I want the $10 that it's going to bring. If that's all I can get, I want it fast. When I pay $2 for something, I want the $25 that Bible will bring fast. Yeah, maybe in 3 months it'll bring 35. And I do not do a race to the bottom. I don't undercut competitors. I usually price on the higher end of the range of comps, but since my account is so powerful because I list exactly the way I tell you to list, so I'm in more search engines than anyone trying to compete against me. You will be too if you just do what this channel teaches you. And I know when I throw up a pack of unopened diskettes from the 70s, they're going to sell fast, and I'm going to turn the whatever this cost, I don't know, quarter, some dusty old storefront sale. They just had boxes. You had to go through all these dusty boxes. It was really a mess. Janie loved it. I hated it. I felt so dirty whenever we left, and because we were dirty when we left. But these were somewhere there sitting all dusty. And anyway, I'm sure they had a quarter on them. I'm not exaggerating. I never exaggerate prices that I pay. I will always truthfully tell you what I really think these cost a quarter. It's like, there's no way I'm going to comp these. I've got too much other dusty stuff. That was a garbage sale, not a garage sale without the beat. That was, but there's no way I'm going to look up comps. I've got too many other things to look at as well. 25 cents for a box. These are going to sell. And they did, like within 3 days. Okay, a commentary said, I showed you a commentary earlier. Anything about the Bible is something you should always have your eye on. Anytime you have complete commentaries, like a complete set of hardback commentaries from the 50s, just take them. What? If they're $5, take them. If they're $10, take them. They're going to sell for a lot of money. They don't make these anymore. And when they did make them, they didn't make hundreds of thousands of these. They made tens of thousands. Most of them never lasted, don't exist anymore. So an Elcott's commentary of the whole Bible, 8 volumes, $155, easy, sold fast, no big deal. Well, what about shipping? So what? These are 8 books. So I put a stack of 4 and a stack of 4, and I put white craft paper in between each one. Janie, my wife, did. And we put them in wrapped them all in a 1-layer bubble wrap, put them in a box, packed tightly, and taped it well and shipped them off. No big deal. No big deal to sell a carton of books. No big deal. Matthew Henry, commentary of the Bible, $49.95, same story. 6 volumes, hardcover. These were in very nice condition. 6 books sold. I told you earlier when I showed you a $5 Singer sewing machine buttonholer manual that only sold, I took $5 for it. Here's one, a Singer sewing machine manual instruction book for an actual sewing machine from 1950 that sold for $32.77. This is basically the same size as that buttonholer. It's like a little 4 or 5 inch tall manual and 2.5 inches wide or something. It's just an old Singer sewing machine manual. Why would someone pay $32? Well, not many of these made it. This is from 1950, decades and decades and decades ago. There aren't that many around. The people that still have those old sewing machines and have kept them working, their manuals are gone, long gone, torn up, just disintegrated. This was a decent manual for a machine, the Singer in Italy, Singer 221 sewing machine. Now, look at this. Singer 221 sewing machine owner's manual. You go to a blank screen and ask Google, Singer 221 sewing machine manual PDF. Okay, I'm doing a Google search of that manual, of this manual. I'm doing a Google search. I'm just going to ask for a PDF copy of this manual. And I know you can't see this very well, so let me move my screen. Singer 221 instructions, owner's servicing manual. They're all over the place on Google. Probably this first one will work. There it is. So instead of paying $32.77, she could have just Googled it and printed it off. It's all here. This is exactly what we sold, only this is online and Google gives it to us wherever it found it. All of these old owners, not just sewing machines, cars, anything, old kitchen appliances from the 50s and 60s, all of this stuff, later electronics, CB radios, stereo systems from the 90s. Their manuals are all online free. Just Google them. Just find the PDF and Google them if you need one. But probably some lady had a sewing machine. She was a purist. She wants the manuals to it. She wants all the parts to it. She wants all the accessories to it. She's collecting to build up a nice collection of vintage Singer sewing machines or something. She wants the actual manual, or she doesn't know she can just get it free, and she paid $32.77. We got this at the same place we got the $5 manual. Why would I do comps on these little manuals? They're all selling. They all sell. One only sold for $5, one sold for $32. On the average, I'm pretty happy with like a $23 average for a 4-inch little thing that I put in a bubble mailer and ship it. That's it. It's easy. There's nothing to it. It's not fragile. There's nothing to list these things. There's nothing to describe except, it's got a few color rubs and maybe one loose page or something. Easy money. Look for old manuals. They almost always sell well. If they're cheap enough, don't do comps. Just buy them. You'll do fine. Okay, that went longer than I expected, but I hope you learned something. I hope you enjoyed it. I hope you saw why sometimes I'll sell something for less. Sometimes I'll sell something for $5. I'm not embarrassed at all. I'd rather have that $5 bill than someone trying to compete against me when it's easy to ship, not fragile, basically didn't cost me anything. Hardly anything I sell costs me anything. You can be the same way. Just sit here and watch and learn. Walk with me. Talk with me. I'll show you the way.